Hello, perceptive readers. Welcome to Reading Wisdom. This is James Lynch talking to you. And the passages that I'm going to read to you today come from John chapter 4. John chapter 4. These are some very wonderful accounts that show Jesus' interaction with somebody who did not have the best of views from other people, you see, that would have been around her at that time. Yes, it is a woman. And so I'm going to read this account to you. And it also made me think about over the years when I've watched different faith based organizations, spiritual, and things of that nature, uh, show this account, dramatize this account. It still goes to show that even though people were able to show their personality in their acting and things of that nature, you know what? It very much so still shows that they had the right mindset, the right intent, and know what? The truth wasn't misleading at all. It's just, once again, another way of humans expressing themselves in translation or what have you. I'm not saying that everybody is good at that. That's why they get the professionals. They got the people who really worked hard on their skills in acting and things of that nature. All the same, it is actually this account in John chapter 4 that I've seen acted out many times. The very last one that I actually saw, it was a ad clip or a commercial clip or what have you, where they end up showing uh, more than a couple of minutes of it, of John chapter 4, of Jesus' conversation with this woman and her expressions, her emotions, the way Jesus actually, you see, talked to her. The realism is more than realism. It's more than just it was a movie or what have you. I want to emphasize that this account, this scene that they got, falls into what we normally would still call historical fiction because it happened. Those different expressions overall were said and stated, and you can tell by at least the description of the way the woman reacted afterwards that there were moments before she arrived at that exhilaration at the end, that you know what? She probably had tremendous emotional turmoil going on before then. And Jesus recognized it, and you can see with his own sincerity the effect that he had on what she was saying. And see, if you need to make any reference points of what some of these social workers, especially if you're a social worker, you see, what you've seen in your life, you will be able to look at accounts like that, even hear it in this account, and you'll end up saying, yeah, I've seen this many times. I've seen the effect on people, why they even sometimes made choices that they wouldn't have made otherwise if they weren't already facing all these different stumbling blocks that hit us in life. Okay, so let me read John chapter 4 to you. This is Reading Wisdom, all right? And this is from the NWT 1950s, 1980s translation version in there somewhere. And so, John chapter 4, verse 1. I'm reading the whole chapter. When now the Lord became aware that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples than John, although indeed Jesus himself did not or did no baptizing, but his disciples did, he left Judea and departed again for Galilee. But it was necessary for him to go through Samaria. Accordingly, he came to a city of Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob gave to Joseph, his son. In fact, Jacob's fountain was there. Now, Jesus, tired out from the journey, was sitting at the fountain just as he was. The hour was about the sixth. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." For his disciples had gone off into the city to buy foodstuffs. Therefore the Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, despite being a Jew, ask me for a drink, when I am a Samaritan woman?" For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. In answer, Jesus said to her, "If you had known the free gift of God and who it is that says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." She said to him, "Sir, you have not even a bucket for drawing water, and the well is deep. From what source, therefore, do you have this living water? You are not greater than our forefather Jacob, who gave us the well, and who himself, together with his sons and his cattle, drank out of it, are you?" In answer, Jesus said to her, "Everyone drinking from this water will get thirsty again. Whoever drinks from the water that I will give him will never get thirsty at all. But the water that I will give him will become in him a fountain of water bubbling up to impart everlasting life." All right. The woman said to him, oh, when I said the all right, that was just me. That wasn't in the writing. Okay. I'm picking back up with John chapter 4, verse 15. The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I may neither thirst nor keep coming over to this place to draw water." He said to her, "Go, call your husband and come to this place." In answer, the woman said, "I do not have a husband." Jesus said to her, "You said well, a husband I do not have, for you have had 5 husbands, and the man who you now have is not your husband. This you have said truthfully." The woman said to him, "Sir, I perceive you are a prophet. Our forefathers worshipped in this mountain, but you people say that in Jerusalem is the place where persons ought to worship." Jesus said to her, "Believe me, woman, the hour is coming when neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you people worship the Father. You worship what you not know. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, because salvation originates with the Jews. Nevertheless, the hour is coming, and it is now, when the true worshipers will worship the Father with spirit and truth. For indeed, the Father is looking for such like ones to worship him. God is a spirit, and those worshiping him must worship with spirit and truth. The woman said to him, "I know that Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. Whenever that one arrives, he will declare all things to us openly." Jesus said to her, "I who am speaking to you am he." Now at this point, his disciples arrived, and they began to wonder, because he was speaking with a woman. Of course, no one said, "What are you looking for?" or "Why do you talk with her?" The woman therefore left her water jar and went off into the city and told the men, "Come here, see a man that told me all the things I did. This is not perhaps the Christ, is it?" They went out of the city and began coming to him. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, saying, "Rabbi, eat." But he said to them, "I have food to eat of which you do not know." Therefore the disciples began saying to one another, "No one has brought him anything to eat, has he?" Jesus said to them, "My food is for me to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Do you not say that there are yet 4 months before the harvest comes? Look, I say to you, lift up your eyes and view the fields, that they are white for harvesting. Already the reaper is receiving wages and gathering fruit for everlasting life, so that the sower and the reaper may rejoice together. In this respect, indeed, the saying is true: one is the sower, and another the reaper. I dispatched you to reap what you have spent no labor on. Others have labored, and you have entered into the benefit of that labor. Now, many of the Samaritans out of that city put faith in him on account of the word the woman said in witness. He told me all things I did. Therefore, when the Samaritans came to him, they began asking him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. Consequently, many more believed on account of what he said, and they began to say to the woman, we do not believe any longer on account of your talk, for we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this man is for a certainty the Savior of the world. After the 2 days, he left there for Galilee. Jesus himself, however, bore witness that in his own homeland a prophet has no honor. When therefore he arrived in Galilee, the Galileans received him, because they had seen all the things he did in Jerusalem at the festival, for they also had gone to the festival. Accordingly, he came again to Cana of Galilee, where he had turned the water into wine. Now there was a certain attendant of the king, whose son was sick in Capernaum. When this man heard that Jesus had come out of Judea into Galilee, he went off to him and began asking him to come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of dying. However, Jesus said to him, unless you people see signs and wonders, you will by no means believe. The attendant of the king said to him, Lord, come down before my young child dies. Jesus said to him, go your way, your son lives. The man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and went his way. But already while he was on his way down, his slaves met him to say that his boy was living. Therefore he began to inquire of them the hour in which he got better in health. Accordingly, they said to him, yesterday, at the 7th hour, the fever left him. Therefore, the father knew it was in the very hour that Jesus said to him, your son lives. And he and his whole household believed. Again, this was the second sign Jesus performed when he came out of Judea into Galilee. Have a wonderful day, Perceptive Readers.